welcome back to my channel, or if you're new, I'm Sam J and this is Mothering 2. Okay, so I talked about feeding my kids for 0 to 6 months. Now, as a doctor and as a physical therapist and as a mom of two, my kids are now 6 months, and I've been doing weaning for the past 2 weeks already sa kanila. So yes, I've been feeding them food already, and that made me excited. But first and foremost, what is weaning? So weaning, Weaning, is a process of limiting now or minimizing the use until to the point of eliminating the use of milk or as your primary source of food and shifting to adult eating, which is the use of meals. Okay, so that's weaning. But at 6 months, we don't really wean off already. We slowly do it at 6 months, and we introduce complementary feeding, or food that we give to complement the primary source of nutrition, which is milk. Again, that is weaning. I would like to reiterate that up until 1 year old, milk is our primary source of food. Breast milk or formula milk, that is our primary source of food. So that is weaning. Now, there are two very well-known types of weaning: traditional and baby-led weaning. Okay, in traditional weaning, the right traditional weaning, yung tama, the true traditional weaning, you feed your child purees and mash initially at 6 months, and then eventually at 8 months you introduce now some solid finger food. So yeah, you don't actually give your child pureed and mashed until tumanda sila. What you really do in traditional weaning is you start with puree and mash and then slowly introduce finger food at 8 months. So that's the right way of doing traditional weaning. Yung tama, okay? You eventually do introduce solid food. Whereas in baby-led weaning, you already start with finger food and at 6 months, okay? So yan yung difference nilang dalawa. But both have to have the signs of readiness. A lot of pediatrics still recommend traditional weaning because wala pa masyadong studies with baby-led weaning. So that is why a lot of pediatrics still recommend traditional weaning, and that is fine because you still, if you do it the right way, you still don't have picky children because you still give them finger food eventually and you still teach them how to eat by themselves. So yeah, unless you do it the wrong way na parati mo lang sinusubuan, then yan yung problem eventually. But early on, if you do it the right way, wala naman masyadong problems. Okay. Now, so signs of readiness. The signs of readiness are baby at 6 months, and then the child is able to sit with little to no support, and then no tongue thrust reflex, and then able to grasp and reach and then feed by themselves. That is in baby-led weaning. But in traditional weaning, you don't really look for that early on kasi naman she doesn't have to feed himself naman. But the child should show interest in feeding. So yeah, those are your signs of readiness. Now, let me explain the importance. Bakit important na maabot ng bata ang signs of readiness? Hindi lang to checklist na basta lang, ginawa lang. There's a reason behind it. And I want mommies to internalize kasi pinipilit talaga always na, hindi pa ready, pero feed na. The importance of this is this. Why 6 months? The 6 months, we do introduce at 6 months because we want yung gut or yung tummy ng baby to be ready when we introduce solid food. And up until 6 months, your baby's tummy is not expected to be ready. So that's why we emphasize the use of milk up until then. That's according to the new research. Yes, just 6 months, okay? And then, CDC and World Health naman, and American Association of Pediatrics, sabi nila as long as more than 17 weeks or more than 4 months, pwede ka na mag-feed, especially, ito yung ninonote nila, in children that would ideally be introduced or be given high allergen food like nuts, peanuts, ano ba bang high allergen? Chicken, egg, yan. You introduce it early in these children because you want to desensitize them eventually. But for normal children na hindi high risk na atopy, 6 months would be the ideal time. Okay. Why sitting unsupported? Okay, as a physical therapist, I feel I have to explain this. What a lot of people don't know is that there is a great interplay with your jaw, neck muscles, and your chest and back muscles. There's a great interplay, meaning no, hindi sila connected. Hindi sila interconnected. But yung function nila works. For example, if you are unable to sit unsupported, there is weakness in your chest and your back. Your ability to properly swallow and chew through your jaw is limited. And that is why you are prone to choking. Okay, aside from your sitting practice and your sitting unassisted limits your choking abilities or para hindi ka mag-choke. If you are doing baby-led weaning, again, it's an interplay. So, if you don't have good sitting balance, if nag-wobble ka, nagfo-fall ka pa, and then you cannot really do all the reaching and the grabbing activities because the moment you shift your balance and then kukuha ka ng food and i-place sa mouth, malulose ka na ng balance, and then now you are unable to do that. So that's the problem if hindi ka pa marunong mag-sit unassisted or with minimal support. Yeah, that's number 2. And then for the tongue thrust reflex, of course, given na siya that if you keep pushing food out, that's risky. 1, risky for choking, and then 2, you cannot really put in food because now you're thrusting it out. Yeah. And then for the next one, tongue thrust reflex, and then interest in food. A child should have an interest in food, lalo if baby-led weaning, because it's baby-led. So, dapat sila yung nag-reach, nag-grasp, kumukuha at nag-feed. So, they should have that ability, the grasping and the reaching. And again, that is the importance of the sitting unassisted and at 6 months. Because at 4 months, dun pa ka pa makaka-expect na merong transferring. But at 6 to 7 months, yun pa yung kuha ng isa, transfer to the isa, and then baliktad, and then separate. All of these complex grasping movements can be seen at 6 months. And that's a lot of reason why you actually start feeding at 6 months and not early on, because at earlier than 6 months, that child is really more dependent on you and hindi mo kayang mag-baby-led that way. Yeah, so those are the importance of your signs of readiness. So what if 6 months? Of course, mahirap siya because at 6 months, hindi mo naman expect a lot of children na maaabot yung sitting unsupported. That is why I did post a video on tummy time and then at mat time, and I told you there that a child ideally should be able to roll back and forth from back to belly and belly to back bago ka confident na kaya niya lang mag-sit alone and be able to do everything that you want them to do pag nag-wean ka ng bata. So check my video on mat time and on tummy time for exercises that you can do with your child. Okay. And then what is the importance of weaning? Wala naman talaga our main source of food is the milk, of course. But at 6 months, your breast milk has less iron and your child is prone to iron deficiency, anemia, if your feeding is not complemented by other food. That is why we feed at 6 months. Hindi lang siya pa-char-char. There's a nutritional reason for it. Okay. Now, the next question is, anong papakain ko? Sana ako 6 months na siya, check na signs of readiness, everything is ready na, anong papakain ko sa anak ko? Most of the time, if you're planning to do mashed and pureed, there's the avocado, potatoes, these are papaya, squash, these are your common first few foods. But at 6 months, you really can introduce everything. If you're baby-led weaning or even if you're traditional weaning, you can mash milk, you can puree milk, meat, you can do this. It would be ideal that you introduce meat early on, because there's an iron deficiency that you want to answer, and meat has some of the highest iron content that you can give. So you can give meat, vegetables, fruits, anything. Okay, take note of allergens. When you introduce allergens, introduce one allergen at a time. Common allergens are egg. There are certain fruits, pero hindi naman masyado common. Common allergens are egg, peanuts, chicken. Okay, these are your common allergens. So, if you do introduce them one at a time para alam mo saan siya allergic ang bata. Don't introduce it at the same time. And then when trying to introduce a new food with something that they are familiar with para at least alam ka na may comfortable ang bata na kainin if ever hindi niya kakainin yung another kind of food. Okay. How much water should you give? Okay, how much water should you give? At 6 months, it should be 2 to 4. And then you slowly increase that. But at less than 1 year, you don't give more than 8 ounces a day. Okay? So, make sure that at 6 months, it's only 2 to 4 ounces ang dapat mong ibigay. How often should you feed? Okay, how often should you feed? At 6 to 8 months, you feed 1 to 2 times a day. At 9 to 12 months, you can increase that to 2 to 3 times a day. And now, at more than 12 months, you can start introducing snacks at random intervals because by then, food na yung primary source of nutrition and no longer yung milk. Okay. So yeah, I hope I answered all the questions that is needed when you are trying to introduce solids. If not, drop a comment below for me to answer questions, or chat me at Mothering2 in Facebook. Please like and follow us there. And then also like and follow us in Instagram, SamJ with Louie and Ellie. And if you're not subscribed already to my channel, please subscribe and turn on your notification bells. I hope I've been useful and I will share some things. And again, this is Mothering2. I am SamJ.